Foggy, rather chilly, but still intensely competitive day here for the opening weekend of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Americas season. And of course, that features a variety of classes, and a couple of them coming to the track for their season opening race, part of the TC America category. TCR and TCA, as they did last year, will be running together in these races, 40-minute duration, double headers. And they're coming out and getting ready to set up for the start of this dual-class race. And significant developments in the TCR class, primarily the fact the creation of the TCR Cup for the cars that don't run a sequential gearbox, and it's given some of those DSG gearbox cars an opportunity to run for an overall win that they generally, just because of the mechanical nature of the cars, they really were struggling to deal with.
Yeah, it's a little bit compromised just in terms of the shifting of the gearbox, a little bit slower, so you lose out a little bit on the acceleration, the weight over the front axle. Depending on who you talk to, I spoke to an engineer yesterday, he said, well, I think it's actually a good thing. It helps the car work better on the front end, but typically it was regarded as a bit of a compromise. So nice that they've split them up this year, and it's a pretty even field. We've got 5 cars in the non-Cup category, the main TCR class, and then 7 cars running for the Cup Championship.
And what it's done is it's opened things up a little bit. And interesting development here for one of the teams that ran the DSG gearbox last year, the FCP Euro car, the VW Golf. They upgraded and went to the sequential box, and they said for them it was a huge step forward, and it shows in the timesheets as they're second and third on the grid.
Yeah, they're very pumped about their opportunity this year. Nate Vincent and Michael Herzen are going to put on quite a show. They qualified second and third. There you see Nate Vincent. He'll start on the outside of the front row. Mason Filippi putting the Hyundai Veloster on the pole.
And that's a new development as well. Of course, last year it was the i30N was the car that was run in the championship for Hyundai. And they said, that isn't a car that has a presence in the North American market. So they made the change, and Hyundai doing a nice job in creating the Veloster end to come out and race that. So
I'm not sure if there's been trying to make sense of the grid, the way it's lined up here, because we see the 2 FCP Euro machines side by side. They should have been on different rows of the grid, so we might now move further back into the pack.
Yeah, and this is nice to see this development here. That's James Walker running the Risi Competizione Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR. Great to have him in the paddock, as well as have Risi in, as it's all part of their customer program, and they're really looking to expand that. Here's Nelson Chan. Done a nice job in qualifying in the Alpha Sonic Motorsport. This is one of the DSG gearbox, so it's a TCR Cup car, and it is the pole-sitting TCR Cup car. There's the number 15 of Brian Putt, who's been kind of a revelation here. He took a long time off from racing, came back a few years ago, and has been showing some really stout speed, top 3 in one of the practice sessions. Here's the 14. That was the 14 of Harry Chung. And then the 37 here. This is the Tooth Autosport entry of Eddie Colleen. Ran this car at only one race in the championship last year at the Glen, but really enjoyed it, and they decided to make a presence here. Then McCann Racing, and the number 27 is Christian Cole, and that's Mike McCann. If you're familiar and been watching World Challenge Racing for a lot of years, Mike McCann used to be a front runner in the GT ranks, and he is here now. That fielding a couple of cars there, because his son, Mike McCann Jr., is running this car, the number 3 for McCann Racing. And nice to see that. Todd Archer here sits in the number 11, 14 spot on the grid overall, and one of the TCR Cup cars from RS Works, one of the Audis. Good look here at the number 11. As we said, here's the 47. And that's Alain Lazier, a Mini Cooper, an Audi, and running for Alphasonic Motorsport as well.
There we see the number 12, Mason Filippi, did get caught out with an overboost in the qualifying run, so he put this Hyundai Veloster on the pole, but he's been moved to the back of the grid. That's why we now see an FCP Euro front row, so this is a late development here as the grid now forms up.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, we were looking at that, wondering what the changeup may have been. That now answers that. And again, we've got a sizable field here. We have 29 cars total. And this track, it's nice. It's a long one. They can certainly handle it. This is a big story in TCA. Nick Whitmer, who we have seen running in GT4 in Touring Car, is stepping in and running Touring Car A this year. And he's going to be somebody to watch for that championship, no question. He is very, very fast.
Yeah, with the name Whitmer, there's not many slow
slow
guys in that family.
Very, very true. Yeah. And they all play hockey, so they're not easily intimidated. So. Jose De Silva, he's the driver. Great to have him here with us in his South 6 Mazda. He from Ives Motorsport. He's never been able to put together a full season. Shows up whenever he can and supports it. This is a nice development, seeing the mini JCW team here running. LAP Motorsports, Mark Pombo in the number 59. You see this STEP on the side, Service Technician Education Program. The 60 car is Nate Norenberg, and team car as well. And they've had a lot of success in other series running those minis, and very, very quick up at the front end. And nice to have them in the championship. And as you can see, this is a stout field.
It really is, and what's really cool about that TCA field, they actually did a balance of performance test here last weekend where they had the same driver drive all of the various manufacturers to create a level playing field. And how well did it work? Well, top 3 in qualifying with 3 different manufacturers, so I think they've done a pretty stellar job with equalizing the field here, and be interesting to see how it shakes out in the form of the race here this afternoon.
And I think that was a really, really good idea to implement that. And they said there were some that were a little frustrated with it, but in the end, it's okay. Now we've got the cars, we know the window, and now we can make the final little tweaks, whatever we may need to do. And it's, as you said, it has produced some really, really fast and close racing.
Tell you what, Vincent, who now sits on the pole, and Michael Herzen, his teammate alongside, they are really working over those little VWs, just trying to generate some tire temperature. Big scrub, big sideways moments there, just trying to generate as much tire temperature as they can in these awfully chilly conditions here at Circuit of the Americas for this racing weekend.
And it is brisk. It is no other way to put it, yeah. And especially this morning, I mean, the qualifying was wet and damp, and it just gets through you here. And all these teams have just put their heads down and done the job. And that's what it's all about. And even though it's still pretty cool, and it's time to go racing. Here's the exit of turn 11. And as you can see, sizable field with technically 2 different classes, but 3 when you include the TCR Cup, which is actually being supported as a separate class. So I think we'll get their own podiums and championships as well, which is okay. It just opens up another opportunity for drivers to come in. And you take a look here. And now I'm just seeing one of the FCP Euro cars. The other one looks like he's got a problem.
Slowing, yeah, he's slowed down.
Something's wrong.
Wow. Well, first of all, we lose our pole sitter, then we lose one of the front row cars.
Yeah, I think that's Nate Vincent.
So that's our second pole sitter in trouble.
Essentially, yeah.
This is promoting that Alfa Romeo. James Walker further and further up the grid. Campaigned by the Texas-based DC Competizione team. Rick Mayer, one of the best engineers in any sports car paddock. He's kind of spearheading the charge here this weekend. Brand new car, only arrived here about 10 days ago. Looking for a shocker of a result, the way things are going.
Boy, no kidding. This is a golden opportunity as well for Brian Putt. I'll tell you a little bit more about him once we get into the race just a little bit. Really a neat story over the years, and this is his first time running something like this, and he was top 3 in one of the practice sessions. Ended up qualifying back in the 5th spot. All right, pace car, lights out. It just ducks off the exit of at the entrance of 19. So the field now under control of the 71 of Mike Hertzen as we are bringing it around and ready to go racing. Here's the 34 of Walker. That beautiful Giulietta. Onto the front straight we go. Here's the TCA field. We're still yellow. Looks like we may be hanging on to the safety car here. The clock has started, Cal.
Yes, I wonder if Vincent has come to a standstill potentially.
That had to be it.
Saw him crawling around that last half of the lap, so maybe he's gone to the side of the track. So they're going to be safe here and make sure we're not under green flag conditions with cars stranded around the race circuit. Shame to see two of the top runners. First, Felipe being moved to the back of the grid after the overboost in qualifying, and now the new pole sitter. There he is. Maybe he's been able to do a reset.
Yeah, looks to have some speed here, so.
Yeah, I wonder if he just came to a complete stop, reset the electronics, and now he's got life back in the car.
Whoa.
Well, that was sweet.
He's going to have some warm tires, too.
Nice catch.
That looked like a little ice racing. It's not that far removed from the concept with the temperature.
Some salt in the wound if he gets dinged for track limits.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so funny from this camera angle up at the top of turn one, and there's just no way to show it. That climb you just don't understand how steep that is.
It is massive. It's so impressive when you stand on the side of the road and just look at it. It's like a mountain. And you just peak at the apex at the top and then just plunge back down the other side. There it is.
Yep. And when you shoot it from the other direction, from down on that front straight, looking up into turn one, oftentimes all you see is this wall just climbing, and that gives you a feeling of how steep it is. And as you can see, it flattens out. There you go. You can see how that is. And when it flattens out just for that moment right up at the top, right as you would be coming off the brake, you've got to get your braking time just right, or you can lock up, skate wide. This track has loaded with these little challenges.
Yeah, and what it does, it makes for the starts and restarts particularly interesting because the cars just stop so quickly. I mean, the deceleration climbing that hill is immense, and it's such a wide entry there. Everyone gets a little bit brave. And they've had more time to think about it now with this extra pace lap before we see any green flag action. Michael Herzen, you would think, would have a lot more experience in terms of being able to handle this situation. Now our leader, as the clock has started to run.
And then Walker, as pointed out in the Julietta, the 45 and Nelson Chan. That's the car that's sitting on pole in the Cup class, TCR Cup category, the Alpha Sonic entry.
James Walker has Ferrari Challenge experience with the Risi Competizione team, so this is the perfect fit. He's had his eye on this category since it got launched here in the U.S. and was just waiting to be able to campaign a full season, so he's very excited about this.
And I think it's cool that with his Ferrari Challenge, with his connection with Risi, that they're running the Alpha too. It brings another mark into the championship, and it is a cool-looking car. Just viscerally and aesthetically for sure. But now, here we go. Give it another try here as we head down through 19, teeing up for turn 20 and getting this race under green. It is started already according to the clock, but get it going under green. Here we go. Michael Herzen leads them out. Field funneling through. We're onto the front straight.
Start line's a lot further down this front straightaway than the finish line you're looking at there. That's the finish line.
And there we go. Green flag is out, and Walker makes the big jump immediately on Herzen.
Wow, he wasn't intimidated. Can he keep it all together here? In at the brake zone, relatively cold Pirelli tires right now. Herzen swings it out wide, widens that radius, gets the acceleration, and takes the lead.
I think you're right. I think that may have been the experience of Herzen over Walker. Walker got that run, but then was really conservative.
Well, better to do that than throw it all away by panicking a little bit. So,
yeah, no question of that. And it looks to me like we
Philippe's all the way up to third, it looks like.
No, he timed that to absolute perfection. Oh, and a big slow spin by the 45 of Nelson Chan. That was our pole sitter in the TCR Cup class. He's gathered it back up again. Lost a lot of track position. So Herzen now has a bit of a margin. In second place, this is Brian Putt. I really have been watching this guy going, he is impressive.
Yeah, really amazing performance. I think second quickest overall in one of the early practice sessions.
Yeah, and he didn't get the qualifying he wanted back in the sixth spot, but he has already moved his way up into the second place.
He's coming under attack, though. Mason Philippi, who had the provisional pole at least, set the fastest time in the qualifying session this morning, is already up to third from the back of the pack.
The big moves there in the Audis. As we go back, take a look at
Vincent.
Yeah,
you can see him
right through.
Is his car healthy? He did reset the electronics. Let's see if he's got acceleration and power. We see someone really wide down into the brake zone for 12. The Subarus, it looks like.
Right in the middle of that, you see that multicolored car right there. That is your leader and pole sitter in TCA, Tyler Maxon, in the Copeland Motorsports car. Although the number 91, Whitmer just sliced through. And Tyler trying to do the over-under.
Maxon just left the door wide open there, maybe just trying to make sure to get a good run. A lot of it is down to the gear ratios. If you've got a really tall gear for that particular corner, you may want to just open the radius a little bit, but Whitmer just took advantage of it when he saw that door wide open like that.
And the 69 Chris Haldeman, qualified fourth in the TCA class, is right there as well in the X Factor Racing Honda Civic SI. Number of Honda Civics here. HPD and Honda have really stepped up their support program, and it's showing with the number of entries here. Here's up to number 47 of Alain Lausier. Had a problem in qualifying, was way back in 19th, but was quicker than that. Here's a look at the start once again, Cal.
Yeah, Walker just timed it to perfection, slid it to the inside. Herzen tried to protect, couldn't. Then Walker just super conservative. I don't mind that. I mean, he's a relatively inexperienced, so he's not going to stuff it in there. Just gives up the lead and then settles back into, as we see a quick spin there.
Yeah, Nelson Chung just getting it a little wrong. Quick recovery, but by the time he gets on, 10 cars have gone by. And now back to live action here as Mr. Hertzen has that lead here, but Filippi is back into the second spot. It'll be interesting to see now just what Mason can do. He's already trimmed a fair amount of that margin back, I think.
3/10 quicker in the first sector on this lap over the leader, Hertzen.
Yeah. And then Brian Putt. Yeah, here it is. You can see him closing up already. Now back to this TCA battle and the Tech Sport 91 of Whitmer. Able to make that pass eventually stick and picks up the lead.
And Max has dropped back to third, it looks like. Trails away out of turn 11 down that long dyno run, as I like to call it, as a real test of your horsepower and what you've got to show. Comes Maxon once again, our pole sitter in that brightly orange colored MX-5 Cup car right there. Takes second place back again from the Honda.
I think that next car is the 69 of Chris Haldeman.
He had second place, but Maxon just took it away from him.
Did.
You can hear
look at that move.
Yeah, same corner. It looks like Maxon just really runs a wide entry, and you might be able to do that on a qualifying lap, but in racing conditions, everyone's just going to take advantage and dive down the inside.
And you got to be a little careful now, because a guy named Mark Pombo in that mini JCW is right there, and he has a huge amount of experience.
Yeah, he will not be intimidated at all. Front, here come the leaders. Here's Walker running in the fourth position right now overall.
47 of Lausier. Again, what a opening lap. Obviously, he had a little bit of help, but qualified 19th. And you take away a couple of the cars with some issues, that's still 17th. He's fifth.
Yes. That's what I'd call a good start.
I'd say that's a good start, and he's got experience, Alain Lausier, and a lot of racing in Canada as well as North America in total. Lots of experience here, and he's hauling Nate Vincent right with him here. But look at this battle for the lead. Hertzen under full pressure attack now from Mason Filippi.
Yeah, and this is a different Hyundai body style to the one we saw campaigned last year with Brian Horder Autosport, with Mark Wilkins and Michael Lewis, who went on a tear. They won the manufacturer's title for Hyundai, didn't win the driver's title, didn't have the consistency and execution that Real Time and Ryan Eversley had for their driver's title. bit more wide open. Championship this year as Philippi just dives to the inside, looks for it, hurts and protects. It's good clean racing right now, but Philippi certainly seems to have the pace.
And he's looking in, looking out, and it gives you just a feel that he's just sort of sizing things up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like he's got the pace, he just needs to be careful. I don't think Michael's going to fight him too hard. An awkward dance right now in terms of
well, that's the thing in that section. You can do an over-under, but then you're suddenly stuck on the outside, or you're offline a little bit, and the guy just returns the favor.
I don't think either one of them wants to get too aggressive in terms of protecting or being aggressive and try to grab the lead in Philippi's case, but so they're just trying to find a racing rhythm without it getting too ugly.
They are as one coming out of the final turn, out of the front straight. Hertzen immediately recognizes, well, I'm going to have to just move over here. I'll give him the outside. And this is that tough decision. You open the door, you open it up to try and do the over-under. But if it gets you too far offline, it can cost you time.
Such a wide piece of real estate to try and protect. If you just dive to the inside and the other guy goes wide, you can't really see where he's at because it's such a different part of the racetrack. And the radius is so different. The speed and exit speed is just dramatically emphasized on the way out.
Working this section of S's. Right here, you start to climb up and out of the S's. You go through a really quick kink here, turn number 10, right there. It falls away. And it's really enticing going into 11 here because it's so wide like turn 1, and you think, well, I'm just going to get to that apex, I'm going to lay that pass on. And then you realize, oh, I'm going to be so slow all the way down that straight because I compromised everything.
Yes.
And again, that's discipline, isn't it?
It is, and unfortunately for Philippi, if you don't just pounce and make the move, suddenly you can get into the rhythm of the driver you're trying to get around, even if you got more pace. And it also breeds confidence in the driver who's protected that lead, and he's not going to be as easy to give it up. So it's one thing to be careful, but you don't want to be just sitting around in that awkward space for too long. Otherwise, it may be get to a point where you may not have the chance to get the lead.
Speaking of in the lead, Nick Whitmer in the number 91 Tech Sport Subaru BRZ leads, but look who's second. Pombo has taken that mini JCW up into second place, gone around Maxon as well as Haldeman. And then Norenberg there in the yellow mini.
Oh, Philippi's got around, he's grabbed the lead.
And this is where will Hertzen be able to hang on to him here?
Philippi was very impressive at the end of last year. Ran for real time. Moved over to the Brian Huerta Autosport team for the California 8-hour, and well, a hip check there, it looked like. I think that was important to get it done. As I said, it starts to get to a point where you've lost the rhythm, and now you got to get super aggressive to get the move made. So good job by Mason there.
And by Michael. I mean, it was very close quarters, but there was no touch. They gave each other just enough room. And some good clean racing now. As we said, we'll have to see. And one thing, those people that may be not super familiar with the TCR category, different body work and manufacturers, but all built to the same formula. And one of the aspects of that formula is these cars produce a lot of aero.
Ton of aero. Yeah, it's really neat. 2-liter turbo motors, front-wheel drive, but heavily aero influence, so they're literally glued to the racetrack, and they're not a lot slower through the corners than the GT4 machines that have been running here today.
And then you look at the TCA category, and vastly different. They're all cars that literally start as basically street cars and the like. And the interesting concept with TCA was created a few years ago in the World Challenge Series, and it was taking the TCB concept and applying it to a touring car, and so making some of the components that you can't modify it, you have to run the stock or whatever. It reduced the cost of a touring car program significantly. Still very racy, And as you can see, we've got big numbers here. It's a category that's really caught on.
It has, and it's affordable, and it's a great way for young drivers or just an amateur driver who just wants to have a really good competitive platform to compete with to go about their racing.
And speaking of TCB, right there in that number 44 is a former TCB champion in PJ Grunke. And he has stepped up last year into this TCA category. Had a little bit of a rough season with some reliability issues, but was and always is very, very quick. And I always joke with PJ. I said, I'd love to give you some sponsor plugs, but we don't have that kind of time in the shows. And it's literally because he's probably got 25 to 30 sponsors. And the way he goes about it is he said, I don't have anybody that can afford to give me a big chunk of money, but I have a lot of people that can give me some.
X times X.
Yeah, and he just pieces it together, creates a program, and makes it happen. And always finds himself running up at the front and winning a championship as he did in the TCB category. But Pelto Agri Investments, Steel Case Tire, Quality Cheese, Amsterdam Beer will feed the rest as the weekend unfolds. But yeah, really doing a nice job.
Got a lot of rounds to the championship. We'll eventually get them all in.
That's exactly right. And this guy has been quite impressive too, Tyler Maxson. Great to have him in the Copeland Motorsport entry, Four Seasons Express Auto Wash, and so it was the pole sitter in the Touring Car A category. He's slipped back a couple of spots right now, but he's in the middle of a pretty good little battle there with a very, very experienced pilot in Mark Pombo.
Talking about that balance of performance test, Greg. Four different manufacturers running in the top 4 positions, and that'll put a big smile on the face of Jim Jordan, the class manager for this championship.
Yeah, he really fought hard to get that BOP test organized. And looking here at X Factor Racing, they have shown up in force here this weekend and are running a number of the Honda Civics with the TCA spec. It's kind of a turnkey car built by Honda HPD for this class, and it's akin to what BMW in the 235 and 240 Cup platform, that same idea, and they've done a great job with it. Back up front overall, Mason Filippi in the Hyundai Veloster N.
This car looks so cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
A mini DTM car.
In a way, yeah, it does.
German Championship or European Championship as it is now.
Yeah, you can see all the back of the rear wheels or the front wheels, the extractors to clear air out to keep the car from packing air and get that downforce. I mean, they've really looked after it. And these may be 2-liter engines. They're turbo 2 liters. They produce some serious power, and you consider the weight of the car, that all-important power-to-weight ratio of these things is favorable at the best, for sure. Making about 325 horsepower, these little 2 liters.
Filippi just laid down a lap.
Oh,
221 compared to 23s for Hertzen, who runs second, but really impressive. Nate Vincent is making his way through this pack in the sister FCP Euro machine, all the way up to 4th now. Make that third.
Took it, yeah.
Just grabbed 3rd on that lap, so that's a brilliant recovery. So he must have had some electronic glitch on that pace lap, and somehow he's got everything reset, and he's going to try and chase after his teammate here that we're looking at right now, Michael Hertzen.
Yeah, Vincent on that charge threw down at one point at 221.7. So that very impressive lap. And that's important for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, unlike GT4 and GT3 that have separate qualifying sessions for race 1 and 2, in the touring car classes, it is set by the fastest lap here in race 1. So right now, Filippi would have the pole, and Vincent would line up alongside like he had this morning.
Exactly. Out of turn 11, this long blast on this undulating straight. And there's Vincent, has picked up the 3rd spot now. And then behind him, right there, I think this guy could be one of the stories of the weekend. We talked about it, Brian Putt, in the eEuroparts.com row racing TCR Cup car, the Audi Sport RS3 LMS. And interesting story for him. In the 90s, he did a lot of club racing. But he told me at one point, he said in 2004, he said, I started to realize that it was all too easy for my family to just say goodbye to me when I was leaving to go racing and do stuff. And he said, my young son and my family, and I just realized I'm going to be missing something here. So he literally took 12 years off. They bought motorcycles and they just started riding together. And as his son, Andrew, got better and better, he started competing and evolved into a world-class trials rider, second in the United States and globally ranked very high, and just doing a superb job. And he said now he's grown up. I followed him around Europe and watched him ride trials and everything, and he said in 2016, he said, I realized I missed it. Now I had the opportunity to do a little racing, and came back. In the last couple of years, he's been running P1, which is a prototype in SCCA and NASA competition. Very quick, heavily aerodynamic prototype machines. Won the NASA East Championship in the P1 category in 2017. And through that, ended up getting Kenton Cook as a driver coach. And Kenton said, there's a pretty cool class that's developing here. Talked to him about this TCR category. Brian decided to give it a go. From prototypes to this, yes, these cars have some aero, but what a story it's been, as we talked about. As you said, top 3 or 2 in one of the practices.
Yes, very, very impressive. Yeah. And Kenton Cook's a great mentor and coach.
Yes.
And he's driven this car to success as well, this TCR machine. So great mentor to have and good advice to have when you're debriefing and on the radio, I'm sure, right now as well.
Yeah, for sure, and I'll tell you, this has been an impressive comeback drive through the field, as you pointed out, for Vincent, for sure. And there, that second car on your screen, the white machine, that is the 71 of Vincent. Right behind him is Putt. Still leading in TCA, the 91 of Whitmer. He crosses the stripe. We'll see what the margin is back to Mark Pombo. 2.4 seconds. There it is visually. Pombo's been putting in some laps here. Whitmer's been running 2:34.8. Pombo at 2:34.7.
So right now, Pombo would the pole position for tomorrow. Look at the rest of the field. Everyone else down in the 34 range, some low 35s. But yeah, so it's tied between those two.
Yeah.
They did have to slow the minis down. They came to the table with a little bit more performance than some of the other manufacturers. So had a bit of weight added, some of the turbo boost taken away to create what we're seeing now, which is good hard racing. Everyone seems to have a similar pace.
Maxon also in a 2:34 for a best lap, but a 2:34.83 would have him third, and continuing his impressive run. Pole today.
Yeah, it looks like his car is good lap pace, but in terms of the raceability and where he's got to place the car to get it, he was kind of being beaten up a little bit in terms of being taken advantage of. Some of that is down to the gear ratio. When you get to that stadium section, as you like to call it, Greg, the tight, twisty sector 3, these guys, you can't individually pick the gear ratio for a circuit. You pretty much got what you got, the set of gear ratios in the transmission. So sometimes you find you're like in between gears.
Right.
And if it's a tall gear, you really need to create that big wide radius. Otherwise, you're just going to bog down if you try and protect. So I think some of that may be going on with that MX-5 through that particular corner.
And I agree. And look here, this is the number 69 we've talked about of Haldeman, as he and Gronke right in front. There's Gronke in the blue tech sport entry. There's the X Factor machine of Haldeman. They're putting together a good little scrap here, essentially for the 4th spot. Gronke, Haldeman, then Norenberg. The young man that I wanted to make a comment of, running 8th right now, is 16-year-old Cole Shirallo, running for X Factor Racing in one of those Hondas, and hasn't been racing all that long, but is pretty quick. And he decided to roll the dice in qualifying. It was damp but drying. It was one of the few guys in this qualifying session to go out on slicks and put it 3rd in class. So
very impressive.
Not bad at all for that young man. Now in the middle of his first race, and I think some racecraft, which is that just comes with experience, obviously. On the
Curious
start,
to know whether that was a strategy decision or he hadn't purchased any wets.
Oh, no, there's a good thought, isn't it? It's that racecraft thing once again. And do want to also give a shout out here, another of the tech sport drivers in the number 95 entry, the P2P group machine, the Subaru BRZ-TS, is a guy named Ben Bettenhausen, third cousin to IndyCar legend Gary Bettenhausen. And nice to have him in the championship. And last year he bought a Z28 Camaro and started to run some high performance events, and met a couple of people at one of them and said, there's this team that run these Subaru BRZs. So he got together with Tech Sport and they did a couple SCCA races, and he said, oh, I'm in. And on the grid here this year. I love those stories. It's great to see it and hear it. Doing a nice job.
Jenny Gannett.
She was such a great story last year when she decided, when her husband Frank started racing, and she said, well, if I'm going to go to the racetrack with you, can I do a little racing? So they put together a TCA program in her Mazda MX-5. And the thing that impressed me about her was, at the start of the year, she was trying to get into the top 15. Midway through the season, she was in the top 10. End of the year, she was knocking on the door of top fives in every race she ran, unless there was some mechanical issue or an incident. She always improved her position.
Right.
And I was talking to her, and I looked at Frank when we were at the banquet, and I went, I think she's hooked. And Frank said, oh, Greg, we've created a monster. And it's great to see. I love it.
That's McCree and Lacey, and I think they may have done a test in the Ginetta. There was thought of maybe bumping her up to the Ginetta because they've got the Ford Mustang GT4 as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of their arsenal for this year. But I think they decided another season in this will be good for her to find her feet a little bit more and gain some experience.
And we have a couple other lady drivers in the field running the number 780 is Sally McNulty with some support from X Factor Racing, and her Honda Team Sally Honda Civic SI, the Borley exhaust, and Cosmos Racing Wheels entry. And she's been a fixture in Time Attack Racing, which is exactly as you say. It's like a qualifying competition, if you will, where cars go out and go after time. And she went and did some Skip Barber racing to get a little bit of experience, got her TC America level license, and put together this other program she's running in. And Dina Weisberg is back and running in the championship in the number 50 entry. So great to have her in the championship. Of course, she and John Weisberg have run in this series for many, many years in their Redcom laboratory machines. But this year, Dina running for Copeland Motorsports.
Watching Philippi slice through that traffic very effectively. Probably a gap of almost 8 seconds on Michael Herzen. And Herzen still maintains that second position over his teammate Vincent, who's been on a big rebound after those electrical gremlins, we believe, stymied his assault from what would have been pole position. It's Herzen heading through the Turn 1 apex area. Now he's going to encounter the traffic that Philippi got. Nice thing is with those TCR cars, you said, Greg, a lot of downforce. That allows him to run that cushion around the outside and no problem. You're not tiptoeing, you're just committing.
Well, yeah, the faster you go, the better it sticks. You just have to understand that and be willing to keep that foot planted just a little bit.
Really love the way they're using this TCR category as a way of creating a marketing platform for FCP Euro. Big parts business out of the Northeast. Offer a wonderful product, great guarantees. So if you're looking for some parts for your European car, check these guys out.
As in lifetime guarantee. That's the. And I asked them, and I said, so do you sell motor oil? And they said, yeah. And I said, and they said, you send us the empty bottles and say that oil's not good anymore, we'll replace it for you. And I went, you're kidding? And they went, no. They said, we understand. He said, that's kind of the lost leader. We'll lose a little money there, but you'll come back to us and for other parts. And I went, oh, I'm sold. It's good stuff. Also wanted to just address guy running a little bit farther back than he wanted to. Any of them, obviously, we want to. The number 22 of Damon Scherzen in Winnipeg, Manitoba, with Tech Sport. They had a problem on the test day and needed to do an engine and gearbox replacement. He lost a fair amount of time. He said, I know a lot of experience here. I'm from Winnipeg, not close to Texas, so I don't know this track very well. So I'm chasing things. But this winter, he is a former ice racing champion up in Canada, and has already won a couple of ice races up there. He's a former champ in Canadian Formula V. And I just want to give a shout out. We're a day late here, but his twin daughters, Rachel and Claire, just turned 2 yesterday. I wanted to mention that. But here's the deal. His company is Nomad Digital, and they're a TV production company. They're doing a documentary on tech sport and creating a documentary of getting through an entire season of competition. And, hey, that's nice to get that kind of notoriety for a team that's running in TCA and get that exposure out there, not just for that team, but for TC America and the class. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Very cool. And under 10 minutes to go now, as you can see. Looking at Nate Vincent plow down through the S's. Doesn't look like he's really making any inroads on his teammate right now, so I think they're just willing to settle in and ride this race out, get some points on the board to start the championship season. These guys didn't see the podium last year, knocked on the door many times, but made the big commitment to switch these VWs up to the sequential box so they could run in the main category this year. Only ran them for the first time this week, so still a great performance.
Absolutely. Yeah, both he and Herzen have been running, pretty similar laps in the high 222s. A little bit quicker than Filippi's been running the last few laps, but he's been able to build that margin. I'm sure he's in management mode right now. Meanwhile, in Touring Car A, Whitmer continues to hang on to the lead over Pombo to the tune of about 3.9 seconds.
Yeah, and importantly, Whitmer's now laid down the fastest lap of the racing class on his last go-around, so that will momentarily at least put him on the pole for tomorrow.
It would be he, Pombo, and Maxon right now. Farther back, there's the number 14, Chang, and behind him the number 3 of Mike McCann Jr. They're having a good little fight.
His dad, a long-time competitor in World Challenge competition over the years. Great to see the McCann name back.
Yeah, I mean, he grew up in the paddock watching his dad race those Vipers and that Remington Cadillac that one year in the championship. And he said, for me to be actually racing in this championship is just so special. And he said, although his training platform, as he called it growing up, he said, most people nowadays go go-karting. He said, I was an ATV rider. And he said, when you're go-karting, you learn to control a vehicle. He said, in ATV, you're trying to control a vehicle that's constantly out of control. And he said, so I'm hoping that plays well for me here. But he did a lot of track days in a street car. When his dad was testing the Viper, he'd come out most time at Mid-Ohio. They're from Ohio, and he would get out on the track with his dad and just drive around. And he said, I got to a point apparently when I scared my parents a little bit with the pace I was running. They said, we need to put you in something with a cage,
right,
and everything. And he said that's kind of where it all started. And they decided to go with a TCR car, and away we go. And it's great to have the McCanns in the paddock. It's a great family, and for so many years, just great contributors to the paddock in this championship. Ronke continues to hold fourth in the TCA class in that blue number 44. He's opened up a little margin now over Haldeman in that orange 69. That should be coming up. There's the two cars there. You can just see PJ in that blue Subaru, and behind him is Haldeman. So PJ's got a little bit of breathing room at this stage late in the go.
Yeah, just over 2 second gap there back to the Honda.
There it is. Yep.
So we're settling in here. Nice track conditions here. It's all dried out nicely, nothing to worry about. I think even dampness offline and off in the curbs will be fine. So you can really start to commit. I think that's why we're starting to see some personal bests from some of the drivers throughout the field late in the going.
I wonder if Herzen had a problem. Maybe it was just traffic, but last lap he was almost 3 seconds slower than Filippi or Vincent.
Well, there you see his teammates right there breathing down his neck now, so then it'll be interesting because these guys are kind of tied at the hip in terms of this racing program, and sure they're not going to jeopardize their chances of a double podium here this afternoon should Vincent get right on his tail here in these last 2 or 3 laps.
And of course traffic can play a difference. There's a fair amount of speed difference between the TCR and the TCA cars, and that's one of the reasons that they wanted to run them together, is so the TCR cars could easily clear the cars. But at this track, you get stuck going into the S's.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got a high downforce car, and you're stuck behind a car that doesn't have much downforce. You're going to lose time.
Yeah, it can be critical, particularly if you're in the thick of a battle, and certainly for Vincent, he'll want to try and clear that traffic and see if he can lay down a couple of quick ones and at least make it interesting, make it good dinner conversation, if nothing else, for tonight with he and Michael.
Well, I'll tell you, Mason Filippi, with the problem in qualifying that moved him back, he didn't take much time to get right up near the front end of things, got to the lead, and has just controlled this one beautifully. And, you know, when he got the nod to go run with real time, they obviously saw something. They recognized that when they needed to get a driver for their second car, they saw something in Mason, and he's showing why right now.
Yeah, I think it was a great experience to have your eyes open from a truly professional organization. And then when he made the move late in the season over to Brian Herder Autosport for the 8-hour at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Right.
And he's now running with Brian in a different championship. I mean, you're just around experienced people. That rubs off on you. You're competing with guys like Mark Wilkins and Michael Lewis. You learn a lot very quickly.
Absolutely.
And he's like a sponge at this stage of his career. He's certainly got the talent and the speed. And when you start to, smooth off some of the rough edges, he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with, as he's demonstrating right now by leading this race.
Absolutely, and this is a great battle as Maxon has not given up, and he has run down Pombo now. And this is for second in TCA. Whitmer has that margin of about 5 seconds here, but Pombo in the red number 59 and Maxon in that multicolored 74, this is for position.
I think that Mazda may be a little bit easier on its tires. We talked about the weight that had been added to the Mini. Now we see Pombo really wide, exceeding the track limits there. That'll be a warning. But he's feeling the heat from behind, and I think that the Mazda of Maxon may have a little bit more pace in the late going here.
Be interesting to see as this field comes around. This is one of the things when you're running with a much faster class. The TCR guys, it can often come down to when they get that white flag as to when you're going to be able to come through and get it. And right now, they're going to get a little bit extra race time here because Filippi has got such a margin over the entirety of the field that they're going to come around and get another lap, I think, yet.
That's a really good point.
Hope they got it fueled up.
Yeah, so Filippi's going to get to the line before the checkered flag is out, which will demand an extra lap by everyone. And that's not good news for Pombo.
Yeah, exactly right. Continuing to lead the TCR Cup class. Fourth overall is the 47 of Lazier. Doing a very solid job. The Alphasonic Motorsports entry. Downtown Audi Customer Racing, and Forward Bravo, helping support that program. And there are the two FCP Euro machines.
They're closer.
Yeah, they are.
Maybe they're setting up for a photo finish here.
Exactly.
This podium run, and they'll do it together. They've got the work cut out to. I'm not sure if Filippi's in for the full season right now with the Hyundai that leads that we're looking at right now, or whether it's just a one-off. But as you can see, he's about to complete this lap. He should get to the stripe before time runs out. It looks like it's going to be tight.
Well, fortunately, it's the shorter line right there, so he does.
8 seconds. That's the last lap. White flag. It's good for us. We can focus on some of those other battles. Can the two teammates get closer together, Hudson and Vincent, and those final podium positions in TCA. Lots to get worked out here. The final couple of minutes good to go.
Absolutely. Philippi with a big lead. The margin between Hudson and Vincent for second and third is down to under 2 seconds. That was a nice comeback drive by Lazier to, after having that problem in qualifying, to come back up, and also to the point where he was able to get around Brian Putt and take away the lead in the TCR Cup class. Here are the two teammates, Hudson and Vincent. And at the line, that margin between Pombo and Maxon was 0.2 of a second, so that battle for second in TCA is strong. Here's your leader, Whitmer.
It was cool as to see green sectors being displayed on the final moments of this race. That's really a testimony to the Pirelli P0s in terms of maintaining their grip throughout the course of this 40 minutes. I know it's a sprint race, but even so, they've been pushed hard, and for some of the drivers to still find even more speed is very impressive. Walker, he laid down his personal best second sector. He's now laid down his personal best first sector on his next and final lap.
He's getting more and more familiar with the platform, learning. Of course, the car getting a little lighter. The fuel coming off, and that's nice. Here's that. Pombo got him. Or Pombo had it, and Maxon is trying to get there. I think that the TCR Cup car kind of split him for just a moment. So Maxon's got his work to do again right now. Meanwhile, Filippi through 14, 15, 16. Now out of 18, and here we go. 2 corners to go.
A nice performance, big bounce back after the qualifying snafu with the technical infraction.
And onto the front straights. The Hyundai Veloster coming across the line, winning TCR at Circuit of the Americas. Mason Filippi, absolutely superb job. It'll be a 2-3 double podium for the FCP Euro team with Michael Hudson and Nate Vincent crossing the line in lockstep. And next through, number 47, the winner, if he hangs on here in the TCR Cup, Alain Lazier. And here he comes, doing a nice job. Meanwhile, in TCA, last turn, Nick Whitmer, who's fast in anything he drives, proves it in a TCA car and brings home the win. And what a good one it was. And here's your battle for second. Pombo under attack. Maxon just not quite enough at the line. And Pombo hangs on for second with the very impressive Maxon in third. Boy, that was some good stuff. Here comes PJ Gronke in fourth, surrounded by a number of the TCR machines. And then the orange Honda of Haldeman rounds out the top 5 in the TCA class. But Lazier and the very impressive Brian Putt 1-2 in the TCR Cup class. A little bit of a scrum here. At the line. That was Hagler, and then Hagler, Norenberg, and Crocker having a good battle in the TCA class. Walker in his debut in the TCR car. That's pretty impressive, Cal. To end up fourth in your class, 6 overall.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be pleased with that. And last lap was his best, 2:22.0. That's a really nice lap. It's going to put him right at the sharp end of the grid. It's quicker than Hudson's time. Only a second off Filippi's best lap of the race. So that's really impressive that late in the going for Walker to lay his best lap down. Should put him up on row 2. That's really cool.
That's impressive, as you said. The man obviously coming to grips with this new platform. Running with Reese, a team he's very familiar with, so there's a good comfort level there for him, but he still have to produce on the track, and he did.
Yeah, maybe it's just the balance came with the race car. Maybe had a bit of an imbalance as the tire wear went and fuel load came off. They'll learn from that. They'll tweak on it. Got a really good, strong team there. So much success at the higher levels of sports car competition over the years, some of the big endurance races around the world, Risi Competizione, they'll make that Alpha even better for tomorrow. I think this is a sign of good things to come.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's makes it awfully exciting to see what's going to unfold here, and just the fact that there's the opportunity. You take a look at the provisional results here, for another manufacturer to be right there and be able to play at the sharp end of this, and Walker has shown that is very, very likely indeed. You take a look at those results, and you can see all the touring car R and TCR Cup machines. And then 13th overall, Nick Whitmer with the win in the TCA category.
But again, great to see the different manufacturers involved there. Top three different marks. It's pretty cool.
Well, you like to know that you've got that kind of a balance, don't you, between the manufacturers? And so that when the racing unfolds, you know it is going to be close concert, full-on fun.
Mason's first TCR win, so it's a big day for him.
Yeah. Talented and nice as well. And Ryan Marine standing down there, getting a hug from last year's champ, Ryan Eversley. Ryan Marine.
Mason Filippi, what a drive through the field for you today. I'm sure you would have rather just started on pole like you were supposed to do, but how much fun was it driving up through this field of cars?
It was great. The TCR class is awesome, and everyone's such a good competitor and everything like that. It was so fun going through the field and battling it out with some of the people I've known from last year. Had a great time.
How much were you able to take the lessons learned from last year and apply it to this race today?
You know, I was able to have more experience in a TCR car and have more experience here at COTA, and I was able to apply it all here today, and I was really thankful for TFB and the Hyundai, and the Veloster and TCR car was amazing, and my family's here, and I'm really excited to be here.
Are we going to see you in this series more this year?
Hopefully. That's the goal.
We hope so as well. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great to see him throughout this championship. He has really developed, and it's fun, isn't it, Cal, when you watch somebody and they start off in quote-unquote the lower formula of whatever category they're in, and you see them work their way up, and then you achieve this type of success. It's just fun to see that kind of progressive by these young guys.
And I think
and
that's
gals.
what the whole championship ladder system creates for teams, for drivers, personnel. It's just a great training ground, and some of these names that are on the podium here today will go on to bigger and greater things in the sport for sure.
And, of course, we have two winners in this field. Ryan's found the other one, Nick Whitmer.
Nick Whitmer, a winner, and a Subaru. Such a big year for Subaru last year, and now to kick off 2019 in a similar way. What does that mean for you and the team?
Oh, first of all, I can't thank enough Tech Sport Motorsports and also Subaru Motorsports USA. I mean, they did the job. The whole team did the job. I couldn't have done it without them. And also, I'm back down to my grassroots. This is where my most experience is at, and I had a great blast out there. I mean, I can't complain with the first place. No one can. And we'll see tomorrow. I got pulled for tomorrow and try to do a double-double tomorrow.
What was the key to your race today?
Key was just keep it smooth, keep it clean, keep it ready for tomorrow. And I was running really consistent times, and I think that's what pulled me away from the other guys. They were fighting in the back. I just kept my groove and looked forward, and ciao, bye.
Well done. Thanks.
Ciao, bye. I like that. And, of course, great support certainly from Tech Sport. There's Eric Powell, who was such a force in the championship last year, focusing on his team role, a team that has a couple of owners, and one of them is Deborah Popolicio, and she and Kevin Anderson have been just instrumental in keeping this platform, this TCA class going. Let's go and look at the highlights from this race. Again, that big move early by Walker, then the conservative, just not quite the experience there, and around the outside went Hertzen.
Yeah, Hertzen took it to the front. It looked like the win was going to be his, but very early on you can see Philippi there clearing the bulk of the pack, and he was a man on the move with that Hyundai.
Took up the charge very, very quickly and didn't take too long, and he got into this little bit of a argy-bargy, as you would say, but the nice thing was there wasn't a tap just a fight for the same space. They gave each other a little bit of room, and in the end, it was Filippi who was able to come out on top of that one.
Yeah, and then he just eased away. Looked like he had a little bit more pace all day long. This was a great battle for the podium positions in TCA. Pombo just hanging on over the master of our pole sitter.
Absolutely. They were at it throughout the entire race. But at the end of it here, overall, Filippi had himself a nice run. Came across with about almost 9-second margin over the field. An absolutely great run for him. And again, Nick Whitmer getting the win in the Touring Car A category as he did well for Tech Sport. Thanks for joining us from Circuit of the Americas.